BAND-MAID and LOVEBITES are both great examples of a feeling that has been spreading throughout the J-rock and J-metal music scene amongst its wide range of overseas fans. A feeling that I've always noticed in the comments of my now revived reactions sub-channel. Basically, the live versions are better, why don't you listen to the live versions? Always listen to the live versions. But both BAND-MAID and LOVEBITES fans seem to generally feel this for opposite reasons that I'm going to dive into today. So why do fans not like the studio versions as much as the live, and do the studio recordings need to change somehow? Why is it that people always say, yeah, that recording is fine, but you should have checked out the live version? Given that I've worked both in studios and live venues with artists in the past, I wanted to use these two bands, who are such hot topics at the moment, to explore the comparison between the musical mediums and theorise what might be driving people away from studio recordings in favour of live ones. And I should point out that we are talking about for private consumption here. There's no doubt that seeing a band in person live is a truly irreplaceable experience. But anyway, let's do this. Hi there and welcome back to Japan, and as we've got two very different bands here to use as our examples, I'm going to start with the one that I think I can perhaps explain easiest. LOVEBITES are famous for their big musical performances, epic guitar solos and almost operatic vocals, so it's no surprise that they're beloved as the kind of band who would excel in front of a crowd. Seeing some of their guitar solos played live is an amazing sight of physical dexterity akin to watching some kind of jaw-dropping circus acrobatics. So yeah, there are many levels on which the wow factor is of considerable note in a LOVEBITES live show. However, and secondly, it's not like I often hear LOVEBITES fans particularly displeased with album versions of their favourite band's songs either, just that the feeling is of the live versions better encapsulating LOVEBITES' turn it up to 11 ethos, leading to, for example, comments under my Scream For Me review such as, watch the live version, 14 guitar solos, and this song is better live with the back and forth 14 solos between Midori and Miyako, that allude to the kind of excess that many fans seem to adore. And why not? If a band is all about turning things up to the max, why wouldn't you want extended songs and tons more epicness? So first of all, I'm going to address both of these viewpoints by saying I basically kind of agree, but with a big caveat. When you're a fan of a band, there's something great about hearing the songs you love get extended, getting more of what you adore, and seeing the artists behind it showing off their superhuman performance skills only goes to further reinforce your respect and support for them. However, all of what you're relishing in comes if you're already familiar with the songs. I mean, a big part of what makes the songs you love so great is the writing after all, right? Stay with me on this one, I'm getting to the point, I promise. So, you love the songs your favourite bands have written, but a big part of writing is the arrangement and structure. A song has purpose, drive and energy because the band you love most likely considered the song's length when they originally wrote it. They considered the build-up, the payoff, the maintaining of momentum in the tune, a good example being Glory to the World, making use of every second to snowball up the energy until its final crescendo. However, the reason why songs are extended live is partly to maintain that special moment with the audience. I mean, many people there in the crowd probably know they're only going to get to see the band live and in person once in a blue moon, and of that performance, maybe only a couple of minutes of it are the song that they've been dying to hear, a song that they love, that they've been wanting to hear in person so much. So why not extend that moment? Well, simply, I think it's because you already know the album version. When you get an extended solo, you know it's extended. When the chorus is elongated for an audience to sing along to in a big live setting, you know it's extra topping on that ice cream that you already were enjoying. However many times you listen to it, you'll love those parts in part because you know they're additions, extensions, excesses for the die-hard fans. It's not better than the way the band intended the song to sound originally, it's just more of what those die-hard fans have already been listening to, probably on repeat, and probably know that they can't get enough of. And so this is why I think that most first-time listeners should actually start off with the album version, because that's how the band meant you'd listen to it first time out. There's something a little bit more definitive about it that allows you to enjoy the excesses knowing that that's what they are. However, I think the viewpoint of the live version being better has sometimes gotten diluted by the fact there are a large number of reaction channels out there who have names like, say, guitarist reacts, band reacts, musician reacts. I mean, I'm not picking on anyone specifically, I've just seen a lot of these kinds of reaction channel names, and it's unsurprising considering how many bands, musicians, and guitarists there are in the world. Therefore, they're likely to be prepped to be wowed by extremely technical guitar playing because they can probably relate to it on a more visceral level. Talking about good quality writing and tight arrangements doesn't quite have the same wow factor that a reaction video is better suited to. However, listening to an extended guitar solo and going, I can't believe this is still going, look how acrobatic it is, well, yeah, that is going to be something that a reaction channel is going to be great for, and it's something that I can understand a lot of fans want to see when they open up a YouTube video. But that's still the wow and the showmanship that is great and fantastic and makes a live performance so wonderful, but isn't exactly going to give you the most definitive, concise, best constructed version of the song that the band wrote for you to listen to. Anyway, I'm going to move on to BAND-MAID now, but I suspect there'll be some crossover between points made for both bands, and I hope you're not just skipping through this video to see what I say about your favourite band, dear listener. So hold on with me, because I got a big point to bring this all together at the end anyway. See, anyway, as much as BAND-MAID are also beloved live, there does seem to be more of a genuine frustration with the studio recordings in this case. Regularly we hear fan complaints about overcompression in the mastering phases, or mixes that hide certain parts of the band's sound, or generally the recordings just lacking the life of the live performances. Again, on the surface, I can't help but agree to a certain extent with a lot of this, but with certain caveats as well. Although I don't naturally have the same level of hatred for mastering compression as some folks, there have been many BAND-MAID songs where I felt they would sound better with less. Then again, there are plenty of live recordings where the balance is anything but perfect as well. I feel the whole comparison somewhat gets conflated with the general feeling of studio interference is bad. Too much producer overreach, too much meddling, too many chefs in what should be the band's kitchen. When we talk about this kind of thing though, we step into a territory where I think it'd serve to be a little bit careful. Simply put, we can never know if that's actually what is happening. I get that people tend to assume the worst if they don't like the way a song sounds on record, but in most cases the band will hear their recordings throughout the entire process of creation and will sign off on everything before any of it goes out into the world. I can't help but feel they're very proud of their studio output, and they wouldn't put it out if they weren't. See, when I hear the songs of bands like BAND-MAID, I hear a lot more creative vision than just a batch of notes. I've long since mentioned how songs like About Us, Page and Memorable have demonstrated clear soundscapes that the band subsequently explained in later interviews. The dreamy fan love letter of About Us, the wedding song vibe of Page, the US tour country jangle of Memorable. This doesn't sound to me like a band who sit around being told how their songs are going to sound by someone else. Now, yes, mastering is something of a dark art that they may well just take for granted and sit out on, so it's kind of a final process akin to packaging up an item before delivery. And so yeah, maybe some of the mastering stuff is not exactly the way that they would themselves put it together, or maybe they just don't really care about that. But I assume they listen to and like their final product before it goes out to us mere mortals. So where some might hear creative imposition in the studio by outside forces, I just hear creative decisions. Not saying that you have to like it, I would just be surprised if the majority of fans did not like a studio recording that the band I think is primarily responsible for the sound of. Do studio recordings always work out? No, just like live venues, I guess, and not every live venue has great sound, and to be honest, a lot of the live recordings I've been told to listen to and told were really great had fantastic performance that you could kind of just make out through a dodgy mix. I mean, my favourite studio album, Conqueror, has amazing production and soundscapes that convey a range of emotions, but even I will confess that the mixing leaves Misa's bass often sounding hidden. So, recording problems can happen in any medium. It's certainly not exclusive to the studio. Both the studio album and the live album could potentially have either good or bad sounds. I just can't help but feel that the studio album is the one where the band have more say-so and control over what actually gets to your ears. So ultimately, I kind of agree that live versions are fantastic. If you already love the band, they can let you enjoy the showmanship as an extra treat to bring you closer to your beloved artist. They can add additional parts to songs you wish would never end, and they can clear the mud around a recording to let you hear its bare bones sounds if you just want everything brought back to basics. All of these things are true. However, let me leave you with a final thought. See, having worked both with live performance and in the studio, I can kind of see where everyone's coming through with these arguments. But I think there's another side that people perhaps don't see or are maybe too quick to dismiss. Just for a second, try to think of the studio as romantically as you think of the stage. There are bad stages, there are bad studios. But just picture a good one for a moment, with great engineers excited to help the band record their vision. See, so many people never get to see the true joy of a band in the studio, as that band hear the songs that they've crafted coming together, as they get to spend hours painstakingly but joyfully picking through every last bit to make it as perfect as it could be, all with a smile each time they hear it back sounding better and better with each tiny adjustment. The feeling of an artist who is at the closest moment they'll ever be to the emotion that initially sparked the song's creation. The inspiration fresh in their mind, the true meaning of the song behind every note, no expectation of how it should sound except for the song that's been running around in their head. Then the loving repeated performances of the same lines and parts, each time listening for the perfect take so they can get that feeling of accomplishment. Not the metronomic sterile perfection that many associate with studios, but the performance where they felt the song most sounded like how they dreamt it would sound. See, just because there's no audience doesn't make a studio sterile or dull. A lot of the time, it's where the artist is alone with their song and their honest feelings, whether that feeling is anger or joy or nostalgia or anything else. Especially with the increasing amount of small-scale recording studios in Japan and around the world, we're more and more hearing songs that probably carry an honest feeling that could never be replicated on stage after the 100th recital and after a good amount of time has passed between the song's original writing and this later performance, where the song has become more of a fun, recognized standard than the burningly urgent creation that once had to be expressed definitively in the studio. So although I do agree some recordings are messed with in bad studios, although I do accept that they may not have the giddy excesses of a live performance, the next time you listen to a band recording, I hope you listen to it a little bit differently. Don't hear a product, don't hear a commercialized piece of output. Hear a band you love who made this because they were excited to convey their latest creative thoughts. A band you love who sat down and listened to the album many times before it was passed along to you. Probably equally worried you'd love it and equally excited about your response. And remember that for all the magic that happens on the stage, there is a magic in the studio too that you probably just don't get to see, but that you do get to hear every time you press play. Live, studio, in all honesty, you shouldn't have one without the other.